Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do a quick video on the release of Crescendo Preview 2. It's going to be probably shorter than my last video. We're not going to go into much detail like I did in the last one. So if you would like to see that, I'll put a link in the notes so you can go back and rewatch that one. Today there's just a couple things we're going to talk about. If you did watch my last one and you remember whenever I was trying to run our IP, get network IP or whatever, I had to exit PowerShell to run PowerShell as an admin or sudo rights. Well, because of that, the PowerShell team had went through and added in a Windows native command elevation for us. So now when we go to run our TCP dump or PowerShell wrapper for TCP dump, it's actually going to prompt us for our sudo credentials now. So that was one huge improvement that I saw that I really enjoyed. And there was a couple other things they added in here. I'll put a link to this blog post since this is the Preview 2 blog. And they added a couple other things like so the command elevation. They added in supports should process, right? So now it'll support that should process block, gives you the what if and the confirm, so you can actually test to see what your new PowerShell command is going to do before it actually makes any commit or anything like that. And it now supports aliases, so you can actually, if you're an alias fan, you can start writing in aliases for your commands. Personally, I'm not an alias fan. I don't like aliases, so you'll probably not see any of those in any of my tools. But if you are, it's there. So now you can use three strokes to type in your command or whatever. And then they started adding in, telling you what else they plan on doing. I've been actually watching the GitHub page, and they've actually been doing a lot of work. It doesn't seem like they added much, but the back and forth that's going on that GitHub page is quite a bit. So they're continuously working pretty hard on this thing, and I'm actually glad to see that they added in elevation for us. But just to kind of show you what that looks like, we're going to go through. I'm just going to kind of walk through what it looks like. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think I chose the wrong tool to demo, because if you remember last time I said I wasn't for sure if Crescendo was affecting the output of TCP dump or not. Well, after a bunch of searching over the past few days, or research the past few days, what I had found out is if you run TCP dump in a PowerShell context, it does not like to be piped to anything. So I think it's more of a TCP dump error and not a PowerShell or Crescendo issue. So I'm going to eventually find another tool to demo, but for now we're still going to stick with TCP dump and what that looks like. So as you can see, I'm actually SSH'd into a virtual machine, which is a Linux machine. So if I do a ls root, so just so you can see the file structure, I am in a Linux machine, and I am SSH'd in, and I am in my Windows terminal. I've got all kinds of things open, working on other things. But just to show you, if I do sudo TCP dump tac I ETH0 is the interface I'm going to listen on, you can see that it starts automatically. Control C, stop that. But now, if I go into a PowerShell context, or PowerShell shell, that's kind of hard to say. Now, you know, PowerShell does run those native commands. So if I do TCP dump tag I ETH0. I should get an error. Yeah, because I didn't run PowerShell. Can I do... It's probably going to tell me it doesn't know what sudo is. Oh, yep, it worked. So, as you can see, that works. But, hang on. Let's clear that again. So, but if I were to pipe that to, let's say, get member, right? Because I want to know what type of output it is. It just hangs. So that's what makes me think it's more of a TCP dump issue and not a PowerShell issue. Control C. All right. So let's go ahead. As you can see, I'm already in where the modules would be installed, and I don't have any modules installed. So let's just go ahead and get the new Crescendo module. Oh, it's going to take a minute. So grab a cup of coffee while that downloads. All right, so we should have that module installed now. So there it is. And so, like before, one thing they did not work on. Make sure I'm in the right. If I do, so now that we have that, if we do get commands and Crescendo, right? We'll notice if you go back and watch my other video, we only had the new and the export commandlets. We now have this new test is Crescendo command. I've not had a chance to play with this just yet, but I'm going to assume that we're going to be able to take that and test any commandlets to see if it was built by Crescendo. It's just my assumption. You guys can play with it and try to figure it out. But we're going to stick with just these two commands for now. And just like before, this new Crescendo command still doesn't really do much. I still haven't verb. So again, I would assume that if we did a new Crescendo command, it would build our template for us. Just kind of like if you were to, PowerShell Gia, create your new config file or something like that. It builds a skeleton template for you. This still does nothing. It says it does, but it doesn't. If I do a ls, there's nothing there. I never could find it. So again, I went back and I edited another sample that was given to us. So what we're going to do to make life easier, I had actually copied some out. And let's just do this. We're going to take this one. So let me move this back so you can see where I'm getting these. So if we go into CD Microsoft, and then the 5.1 is the newest release, and then we go into samples, do an ls. Let's do a ls tag LA. Alright, so we will see that we have all these installed, or these were given to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these and modify it to what we want to happen. That's kind of where these come in. These are all the same ones. These are the ones I was playing with earlier. So let's take this one, right? We're going to take the who, but we're going to call it invoke. We're going to call it get net packets, right? And then so on the origin name, you know, what is the normal tool we're going to use? I believe it is. I'm going to cheat a little bit. This is the one I created. All right, it's user sbin tcp dump is what we're going to get. So we'll put that here. And then we're going to give this one, it's going to be a interface. You know, because as you're reading in TCP packets, you want to know what interface it's on. The original parameter is I, and it's actually going to be a string. The second parameter, we're going to read in a pcap. So it's going to be file. It's going to be tac f. And it's going to be a string as well. Now, normally here we can start working on some an output handler to where we can take, because whenever this stuff starts coming back in, it's going to be a string. So we're going to use this output handler and turn it into like an object. Unfortunately, with the tool that I chose to demo, since it has problems going across the PowerShell pipeline, we will not be able to do that. So we're just going to skip that for now. So at this time, I'm just going to do file, save as. We're going to call it, instead of who, let's call it net packets. Save. All right. So now that we have that saved, I've already over here created a SCP to move stuff over to my other machine. So I'm just going to do that, and it's net packets, not IP packets. All right, so it's copied over. So over here on my machine, we should do temp. We should see a net packets right there. So let's copy that. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy tac item /temp. We're going to copy that, and we're going to copy it here. So we're going to put it right here in this samples. So now if we do here, we should have a net packets. So that's what we're going to be working with right there. So our next step, after we've modified our JSON file, was to export the command that is in it, which is going to be that net it's going to be net or get net packets. So we're going to see clear, going to export Crescendo module. Now this is pretty important because I messed this up several times. So most of the time you can get by with just putting in, you know, the next parameter name without naming the parameter. But for now, we have to specify the parameter names, because if you don't, it's going to tell you that the file does not exist. So net packets, and then we're going to, I think it was module name. So we're going to export, it's going to export the stuff that's in the JSON file, convert it to a module name. So we'll call it get tac net packets.psm1. And if you watch my last video, you'll hear me say that you have to give it a PSM1. And at this point, you can call it anything you want. So there's that. So now we can import module get tac net packets PSM1. So now if we do just get tac net packets, it should error out because we did not tell it to use any type of elevation, and says you do not have permissions for this. No problem. So what we're going to do, since we're already here and it's a quick small change, we're going to vi net packets JSON. So if you go back to the blog, if you go back to Mr. Helmick's blog here, when it's talking about the Linux native command elevation, it actually tells you that it has to go right above, just before the parameters. So what we're going to do is, while we're here, so just before the parameters, here's insert, we're going to enter tab, and we're going to call it, it's elevation, bam, open bracket, close bracket, there we go. And then it's the command we're going to use. Command remember, since we're in Linux, we're going to use sudo, and that should be it. Make sure we put our thing there. Now we're going to escape right quick. Right? So now we've edited our file, we actually have to go through and recreate everything we just did. So we're going to export again. This time we must use the force option in order to overwrite our current settings. If not, it just won't do it. So force that. So when we import our module, we need to overwrite what we currently have too, so we're going to force that. But now if we get tac net packets, it should be running, and it will. For some reason, again, the TCP dump itself just does not like being wrapped in PowerShell. I'm going to have to fix that tool. But if we hit Control-C, we'll see that, I mean, we did receive 39 packets, even though we did not see them. And the same kind of goes for reading in the packets. If you go back and watch my last video, those actually do output, but this is after it's all been read in. So we might be able to do some output handling there, but as far as live packet capture, we're going to have to solve that problem some other way. But until then, I hope you enjoy this, and please subscribe, hit that button below, and I've got some other videos I'm going to plan on putting out here soon, so hope to see you then. Alright, thank you.